All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of our Practical Ideas for Crazy Times webinar series. Now, I know everyone here on the call is very busy, and we really appreciate your time investing this 1 hour in your business, really. Listen, my name is Andy Biting, and I'm going to be the host for today. Today's episode is it's on the topic of e-commerce, how any business can successfully sell online. And we're going to focus primarily on how to sell more online without creating chaos in your organization, even if you're a technology novice. Now, we're really fortunate to have Scott McIntosh with us today to speak to us on the subject. Scott is an expert. He's had over 25 years experience implementing digital solutions in some of Canada's largest companies. He's the founder and chief growth specialist at Second Spring Digital. Sorry about that, Scott. Scott has worked with numerous clients over the years, implementing digital solutions, and has led to the formation of a partnership between Second Spring and Shopify for e-commerce solutions. So it's a unique position that he's in and has some unique perspective. So Scott, welcome.
Good morning, Andy, and everyone on the line. Great to be here.
Now, I know that these are really crazy times, and we're very fortunate to have you talking, about e-commerce, especially right now when so many things are being disrupted in our businesses. And with this crisis, a lot of people are looking to online solutions because it's hard to get out and meet with your customers face to face. So these are really challenging times, and I'm curious, just one or two comments about what are you seeing with your clients and with companies out there, in this current situation as it relates to their online business.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think initially, this is unprecedented. There isn't one of us that knew that had a playbook for this. So I think initially it froze us all. And what I'm seeing now is some folks are unfrozen and moving and related to e-commerce, they're implementing plans and making changes, and some folks are remain frozen and still waiting for the thaw. And so it's almost like in two camps. And it certainly looks like the waiting is probably going to be a poor choice, because it could be a while before the macro around us changes and everything goes back close to normal. So it does seem like a better approach be to make a plan and start implementing some change, and more folks are doing that, I think, as every week goes by.
Yeah, and I read just the other day that the current crisis is going to favor the people that just take action, and nobody can get it right off the bat, and you're going to make mistakes as you go along, but you got to start putting one foot in front of the other and taking action. Just quickly before you get started, Scott, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. First of all, we pride ourselves on starting on time and ending on time, so we are going to stop at before the top of the hour. Any questions that you may have, we are going to have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So we do ask that if you have any questions, please put it in the chat function of the webinar. And at the bottom, if you open up your chat function, there's a drop-down menu there, and you can leave a message for all panelists, I think is the default. But if you change it to all panelists and attendees, then everyone else can see your questions as well. Now, before we do get started, I just want to get a quick pulse. So if everyone can go open up their chat function and, change that drop down to be able to chat with all panelists and attendees. And I just want to ask everyone to take 5 seconds and let us know how you're feeling about your initial thoughts about your own e-commerce capabilities or situation, and what maybe even a point of what you're trying to get out of hoping to get out of today's webinar. So I'm going to give everyone 5-10 seconds to just type something in the chat function there. Yeah, if you have any comments or anything that you're looking for as well, it'll help to steer the conversation, and it could help to, you know, as Scott's going through this, to help steer some of the conversation and presentation around it. Okay, need to quickly ramp up knowledge and acquire the right tools. Don't we all? Our e-commerce capabilities are minimal. Always sold face to face. So many people are, and I'm talking to a lot of people that, we've always sold face to face, and all the conventions and the trade shows have been canceled for this year. So we need to find other solutions. Have an opportunity for e-commerce, so looking to learn. Great. Minimal knowledge with e-commerce. It is until someone opens up the curtain, and Scott and I were talking about this morning. See what's behind the curtain. It is scary to think of new technology. Need this knowledge because we are an IT service provider. Help our clients transform to digital as the new norm. That's great. I appreciate those comments. And as you have comments and questions, please put them into the chat function. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Scott, and to do your presentation. And I'm just going to mute myself right here.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate it as always. Good morning once again, everyone. So the talk today is how any business can successfully sell online, and I truly do believe that. We do have a fair bit of content today I've attempted to summarize, but I'm afraid that we still may go a bit quickly. So if there's anything you have questions on, there'll be an opportunity at the end, and there'll be an opportunity to engage afterwards as well if need be. So we'll cover 5 things today: common challenges with selling online, 5 stages in your customer's online journey, business to business and e-commerce, which is a bit of a special case and a special mindset, how to plan an e-commerce project in scary times, and then a 10-day free training plan to get your business online. So selling online can be overwhelming. That was always the case, and even more so now with all the pressures in 2020. Many business leaders are frozen by the complexities of e-commerce. That's okay. You're not alone. There are many, many people in the same category. And there's so many questions that it raises. What products do I have to offer that are suitable for online? What products will work the best? How do I get customers? How do I get my current customers now to support me online? How would I get the word out? How will I take orders? How will I fulfill orders? How do I get things shipped? What about local delivery? What about pickup in store? Where would I get packaging that's suitable for selling online? Who's my shipper? How do I label for them? How do I let them know I have a pickup? What about inventory? Won't that be a challenge? And I know a lot of people maybe aren't particularly good at managing inventory right now. Maybe that wasn't important. How will I capture payments? How long does it take the money to flow to me? We're all interested in that. What fees are taken off the top? And then managing the change. So how would I retrain my staff? How would I deal with customer issues like returns, lost packages, chargebacks? And I'm not a techie, so how do I run all the technology I assume I would need for e-commerce? And maybe most of all, how am I supposed to figure all this out right now when I'm very busy trying to operate my business and process the next normal? So some of those may resonate with you, and again, you're not alone, and that's a perfectly normal mindset when you look at this initially. Unfortunately, our customers aren't really patient with us while we figure it out. Here's some really interesting data that came in just recently. So transaction volumes in most retail sectors are up 74% in March 2020 compared to the same period last year. So when you think about it, that is absolutely massive. And this is comprehensive data that comes from the online payment processors for credit card transactions around the world. That's a pretty comprehensive view. They also provided some breakdowns. Some of the sectors seeing the biggest shift online are home products and furnishing, up 97%. Do-it-yourself products, 136. Garden essentials, 163, 163%, so almost triple. And, so when you think through that, some of those top categories like local furnishing, garden, and do it yourself are likely missing out on this trends, and also manufacturers, industrial, commercial suppliers who aren't online. The major e-commerce players, Wayfair, Walmart, Amazon, they were ready, had an online capability. Unfortunately, a lot of our local and regional brands weren't, and there's also some people that sell through those brands that are now thinking that maybe my supply chain doesn't need to be so long, and maybe I'd like to get a direct connection to my customer. So that's sort of the situation we're in right now. It's good to have a fact base. And what we all need is a simple but complete way to look at selling online, and that exists. So that's it's not that difficult. What we'll do is we'll simplify selling online by thinking about the customer journey. So where does your customer start and where do they go as through their relationship with you? So break it down into 5 stages. So attract, how do you bring prospective customers to your online store? Sell, which of course is the first part we all think about. So how do you offer your products for sale and complete a purchase, sort of the mechanics of it. Deliver, how do you deliver what you promised to your customer? Not just how do you deliver a package, how do you deliver what was promised to them or what they understood to be promised, which is much more important. Satisfy, how do you ensure your customers satisfied and deal with any issues that arise, very important. And grow, how do you grow? Driven by a growing base of satisfied customers. So 5 steps, and there are things we can do in each of them to get a complete solution without making it too complicated. So step 1 on attract, some of the basics here is get clear on your target customers, your persona. Andy's team did a good job of looking at this. I believe it was 2 weeks ago in some of their marketing sessions. So it's an important first step. For instance, I'm looking to reach white collar managers who are trapped working at home. Be clear on that. Then you can write them a letter. Let them know you understand their problems and that you have the perfect solution. So when people read things online, they want to identify with it and know that you understand their situation. You want to get clear on the brand for your store. Choose which products to offer online. You don't need to offer all your products. Think about which ones would probably optimize well for good sales volume, ease of delivery, and high odds of having satisfied customers. Then you want to enroll your current customers. Just start where you are now. Reach out to them on the channels you have. It could be email, Facebook, snail mail, phone numbers, anything. Just make sure they're aware of what you're doing. That will get you started. From there, you can look into how you get found online a bit more comprehensively. So you might want traffic from content you create. You might want social media community building. You might want online ads on Google and Facebook. If you were here last week, you heard Donna from Leverage say that digital ad buys are the most cost effective they've been in recent history right now. So it's actually cheaper than ever. And then you'll put your plan in motion, ramp up, create that content, social media, online ad. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be in motion. So that's attract, and that can be a busy area. Next up is sell. So how would selling your products work? The basics here: pick an e-commerce platform, set up your product catalog, configure pricing, payment providers, some tax rules for the areas where you'll ship. Some next steps there. Most of the advanced things will leave for the grow phase, but you may want to create some initial discounts and offers that you'll use at launch. Usually a good strategy. Some of your products might work better as bundles, so don't sell a monitor and the cable separately. Bundle them together, and you might want a digital gift card to start building that loyalty online right away and collect additional cash before you actually ship a product. So that's sell. Deliver. How would you deliver on what was promised to your customer? Again, not just sending them a box. So you want to figure out fulfillment and how you set up for that in your location. Packaging, do you need, can you use something you have now? Or maybe you're not used to shipping direct to consumer and you need something different. Some people like to brand their packaging, and that is an approach you can take. I do note that brown paper boxes have worked just fine for Amazon, so maybe that will get you started. And then decide on your shipping options. Where are you shipping to? Canada, US, beyond. Or maybe you're just focused regionally on local delivery. Want to understand who your partner is, how they get notified for pickups and whatnot. Or, and you might want to in-store pickup, which is relatively easy to do from an e-commerce perspective. You just need to map out how that would work in your store. Once those, one of the significant issues when that comes up in Satisfy is when a customer buys something and then they're told it's out of stock. People really dislike that. So, most businesses will find you need to manage your inventory for e-commerce to be successful. You also want to decide how you recoup the cost of shipping. So another major reason for cart abandonment is unexpected shipping costs. So if you can do it profitably, you might want to consider bundling your shipping in the purchase price, a lot like, again, like Amazon does. Some next steps here. There's a lot of process optimization opportunities that will open up. I won't go through all of those in the interest of time, and some of those are situational. You'll probably want to integrate your e-commerce into some other systems you have now. Most people want to integrate into their financial system so that you get the financial details on the sales, the shipping costs, the sales tax, and product detail over in your financial system. You might want to sync your inventory to some other inventories you have. It could be in your point of sale, a warehouse, whatnot, depending on your business. There's various ways you could do that. No need to overbuild, just the simplest thing that works. And you might want to move customer and sales information to a marketing automation system. And that's a big help in that grow phase as well, but that's also something you don't necessarily need to do at launch. And then you might want to understand your point of sale integration. A lot of us don't have a retail storefront working right now, but we'll be back in that world before long. And it's good to start to think through how in-store and retail or online might work together. Fourth step is satisfy. So how do you make sure that customer is satisfied? It's probably the most important step in the life cycle. If you want sustainable growth at good margins, this is where it comes from. Refunds and irate customers are, certainly not as profitable. And this is where your that much sought after word of mouth, referral comes from, as well as in here. And that's the ultimate strategy in our growth phase. So we'll do some advanced things, but there's nothing, there's no replacement for someone and consider a friend telling you, hey, I did business with this company online and it was fantastic. That comes from Satisfy. So it might be tempting to scrimp a bit here. You might tend to focus on the first three phases. Don't worry, there's simple ways to do attract, sell, and deliver, and save some energy for Satisfy for your first launch is my advice. So clear customer contact options, meet them where they are as well. Like if they all use Facebook Messenger, don't just give them an 800 number, try to meet them where they are. You need clear store policies, starting with refunds. There are others as well. It's not that difficult, but you just want to be clear. And then even more important, you need the processes in behind your policies so you actually do what you say. You're going to want to set up for the 8 types of chargebacks. And for those of you that don't do a lot with credit cards right now, this is a reality of the online world. There are 8 types. I won't go through them all here now, but you don't want to, you should expect each of those at some point, and no need to get caught flat-footed. You should have a plan in advance. There's a couple simple steps you take for each one usually. From there, customer satisfaction surveys could start as one question: would you recommend us to someone else? That gets you a net promoter score. And then you can start to move to online service channels where the customers can help themselves. So documentation, install manuals and videos, FAQs, log an incident, where's my stuff. As you build up your online site, the more of that you put online, the less customer service cost you're going to have, and the happier your customer is. So, if you have an issue at 6 a.m. on Sunday morning and you're able to go online and solve it yourself without waiting for customer service hours, I think we all enjoy that. Next is grow. So how do you convert your customer into a raving fan? It's probably the funnest step, but you need to build the foundation of the other 4 to get here in a meaningful way. So here we look at optimizing social media, email marketing, volume offers for customers. And then next steps here can be referral bonuses, product reviews, loyalty and rewards program. And Andy, you'll be happy to know I did add print media and newsletter and magazine to keep in contact with your customers, all very valuable in a grow strategy. So, I'm afraid I went a bit quickly through that, but that's what thinking through your life cycle would look like.
Yeah, and Scott, I just want to interject quickly is that a lot of people just think of the mechanics, setting up the storefront, attracting people there, doing the cut. You really do, you need to think this buyer's journey, and it starts the moment they have any kind of contact with your company to when they're helping you grow their business. And a lot of people just don't think that all the way through. So love the material that you're sharing here. This is great.
Excellent, thank you. Okay. Next is just a brief minute on business to business. I've worked a lot with business to business, and I very much enjoy that area. They have their own challenges with moving online, and if you sell to other businesses, you might be out there thinking, yes, but that stuff you just went through doesn't work for my business. And let's talk about that a little bit. Often B2B businesses believe they're unique and difficult, if not impossible, to move online. Some of the objections you'll hear from business to business companies, they'll tell you their customers like dealing with them face to face, and the business is built on long tenured relationships. Tell you they're not ready for direct to customer activity. They mightn't have the packaging, fulfillment, warehouse, pick and collect processes and whatnot to be online. Not sure how to get the word out beyond their traditional channels. Big one is that many business to business companies have complex pricing, special deals and contracts set up, different for every customer, potentially backed by different legal agreements. They worry about the complexity of bringing that all online in an effective way. They're concerned about the change management impacts with their customers. So how do you train your customer to do it in a new way and support them as they move to the new normal? Some business to business companies have big and bulky products, and the way they deal with that now is they ship by the truckload. So, if you're not selling something like an iPhone or a book, if you sell barbecues or patio furniture, how do you reconfigure yourself to ship that to your end customer? Some people have breakage concerns. That's on people's minds. They get worried about their support organization. It might be set up for online sales. Perhaps it's just phone support now, or even the sales reps taking calls directly, which is expensive and doesn't scale well, doesn't handle things like vacations and whatnot very well. Can be fear of the unknown on payment online and securities and the the chance of fraud and chargebacks that come with it. And, also concerned about changing some of the systems they run on. Some people have industry specific solutions for shipping, warehouse, inventory, or finance, and they worry they're, a bit too old to support selling online. So I'd be, be curious in the Q&A if any of you that have B2B businesses, if any of those are on your list. The only thing is though, our B2B buyers may not be as patient with us as we think as well. This is a stat I like from a Salesforce report. 82% of B2B buyers want their business purchasing experiences to be similar to their personal shopping experiences. So, people have developed that Amazon, Uber, type expectation everywhere. And this stat comes from a report in 2018, and I can only believe, I don't have the data, but this number would have gone up since then and into 2020. I'm guessing many customers would now say they need versus they want their B2B buying experience to be damn near, as I meant to say darn, easy as buying from Amazon. And I do need to say, I've seen this one firsthand with my, some of my consulting clients where you can get a bit overly comfortable with your own current ways of work and relationships. And unless you're testing carefully, you might not realize some of the impatience and interest in change that's building up with your customers. So what my perspective is, B2B customers can make improvements in one or more steps using the exact same customer journey we looked at earlier. In Attract, there's always opportunities to look at attracting your customers in new ways or keeping them informed, building engagement. In Sell, you can look at selling online. Some of those pricing complexities and things are, some of you sell very large ticket items that, probably someone isn't going to buy $1 million item online in your store, but you can support the sales process online. And, you can look at putting things like request a quote or, request a follow-up or whatnot online. Those things typically can be done. So on Deliver, look at ways to continually improve your process and shorten your supply chains. Maybe you can go direct to consumer. Some people who relied on Amazon to really reach consumers have been disappointed in the last few months as they've needed, and rightfully so, they've needed to prioritize their shipments for medical and other urgent items. So, that's little comfort though when, when your path to customers disappears. So more people are interested in direct to consumer routes now. Satisfy to me is a real big opportunity for most business to business companies. So how can you satisfy them more with online tools, and get to the ultimate of that customer self-service, typically very high yield, both on cost and customer satisfaction. And then grow activities lend themselves very well to additional, online and digital thinking typically. That's just a little bit of a perspective on business to business in the event that's useful to any of you.
Scott, it's interesting. I was talking to someone this morning who's in B2B large products. I think their average sale, I'm guessing, is, $500,000 to $1 million per sale. And love the, the point around, you can use your online strategy to support the sale. Do you see a lot of that where, it really is integrating the digital and the online component with the person-to-person sales? I mean, now it's happening over phone or Zoom calls, but do you see a lot of that versus just the pure e-commerce traditional definition?
Yeah, what I've seen, and whether it's e-commerce or other digital tools, is that they really work best when they're looked at as an assist, not a replacement. So how do you take the mundane, transactional, task-based things, put those online where the valuable people who know your business well don't need to deal with them, and your customer can request them themselves on their own timeline, and have them work on more of those customer meetings and more attentive. So it's rarely a good answer to replace. It's about assisting and taking the things that systemize well away, and letting people focus on these, human things that they're really good at, and that drive the business.
Yeah, and I suppose one way to look at it too is everybody should be working in their highest pay time activity, or highest payoff
That's it.
activity, and it's not delivering the same content over and over and over again to different clients or potential customers. If you can automate that with some sort of a e-commerce assist program, or an automated program, it just allows them to spend more time
Yep.
on the phone or whatever they need
Yep.
to.
Yeah, for sure. So in the sale, like for that big ticket item, just like spend a minute on it. Like, what are all the steps up to the negotiation and closing, and how can you support those? And then what are all the things that come after around customer service and maintenance and follow up and all that, and how do you automate more of those? But no,
Mm.
there's no reason to take a successful salesperson, selling a large item like that and try to put it in a shopping cart, but you can probably let them have a bigger impact with some of those tools. So
Yeah, and even one of the resources we talked about briefly was being a resource, because one of in their industry everything's done through RFP. So being a resource on having white papers or having a system to educate their customers on how to create an RFP, to
yeah,
have an influence on that RFP. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, you can that can come in almost through your attract activities. It could be attract and shape, right? So
It's true. It's
yeah.
true.
Okay, so yeah, a bit of a detour on B2B, but it's an interesting topic. So next we'll turn our attention to planning, and how would you plan an e-commerce project in scary times. So hopefully through that there's some glimmer that following an online customer journey approach can simplify selling online. One of the things I'm aware of, though, our brains, and certainly my brain, doesn't always think simply, and not in scary times. We're all, adrenaline fueled and cortisol these days. It's a hard time to sit down and be fully thoughtful and strategic. Um, so what we've done, we've built this tool for planning your e-commerce project, or really any project. And it helps you get a plan that you're comfortable with, even in scary times. And you'll get a copy of this in your follow-up email. So let me just treetop this briefly. So you'd start with part one here. Just give your project a name, set a goal, some results you're looking for, and a target date. So far, so good. That's very easy. Um, Part two, the resistance. Here you're going to list out all the fears, challenges, obstacles, risks, and doubts. And this is an abbreviated form you're looking at on the screen here. There's lots of room for these in the exact uh, form. And this is best done over 2 to 3 days, and 2 to 3 takes while you let this percolate a little bit. Really, what are you concerned about with this project? And sort of be honest with yourself. And really, this is the secret sauce. What that does is drill into your unconscious automatic thinking and really understand what you're concerned about. So capture all that. Don't sweep anything under the rug. Part three is a rethink. So take every one of those resistant items, and then we'll say, what strategies can we come up with to manage that resistance? Many times you'll be surprised how successful you are in coming up in strategies. As my business coach, Dan Sullivan, says, the things that oppose, or that seem to oppose our goals, are actually the raw materials for achieving them. So many, many times we're able to neutralize the things that we're concerned about and map out a reasonable strategy to overcome it. And then that brings us to a checkpoint down in the bottom left here. So then go back and look at what we've laid out for a concept, goals, and results. Take a look at our resistant items. Look at all the rethink and strategies we've come up with, and then make a decision. So, are these strategies good enough? Do we have the makings of a reasonable project here that could achieve that goal and result we had up top? Is there enough here to merit doing a bit more work? And, are we ready, willing, able to proceed? Creating a more logical plan. And many times you'll find the answer is yes, but you might find the answer is no. Maybe you just don't have the resources required to do it. Maybe those nagging doubts in the back of your mind was right. And if that's the case, you've taken the time to map it out in a structured way, and you can move forward knowing that e-commerce or X, whatever project you're considering, isn't the right thing for you, at least not right now. If you answer yes, I think you'll find you'll start to be a lot more optimistic about actually driving out a plan that works. From there, you'll move to the second side of the screen and get into more tactical things on requirements and who's who and how long and how much might it cost and benefits and how do I get the benefits and whatnot. And then checkpoint two, if that project makes sense, let's go out and get actual quotes or estimates from our internal groups or wherever we go to get projects like this done. So that's a very summary view, but that's a great tool. It's based on 30 years of entrepreneurial and business strategy practice. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, with that tool, and I'm finding and my clients are finding it's especially valuable now in scary times to really structure your thinking. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of the content.
Okay, that's that's really helpful. I love the tool and the simplicity of it, because you can, there's a thought process behind this, and it doesn't mean that you're going forward with everything, but it gives you a thought process to evaluate that, for yourself. And like you said, you're going to be sending that out. So, any questions for Scott at this point in time? Here's some questions. Here we go. Do you have any experience using QuickBooks as a POS, point of sale?
I don't personally know. No,
Can it be done? Okay. I know
not
QuickBooks
sure.
is very
Could take that
dynamic
away.
in its software and its application. So it, I wouldn't surprise me if there is a module or some way to do that. But
Yeah, we'll follow that up.
okay.
There's point of sale and then there's selling online. I don't know if that's both or one, but
What's the key thing that you can think of, Scott, that people miss during, their e-commerce? They make the decision, they want to move forward with something. In your opinion, what's the key thing or the biggest thing that most people get wrong or miss or don't think about? I'm just curious what they.
yeah, I think it's that satisfy piece, that part four. So if you think about attract, some people have marketing knowledge. A lot of that attract is marketing. Some don't, but people know who their customers are. They know how to reach them, and they'll make a start there and make some progress, especially if they have good products and a good traditional business. It's impossible to get started without taking care of the sell things, tax and payments and whatnot. So that gets done, plus or minus 20% every time. You figure out something for deliver that works, but it's that satisfy piece. What do I do with a damaged shipment? What if it's defective, if it gets lost, if they're just unhappy with it, and all the things that can go wrong? And that's really what makes or breaks you from word of mouth, and if you have online reviews and whatnot, that's what, like, and even if you go on some larger e-commerce sites, that's what a lot of the chatter is about. You get some delighted customer posts proactively, but more often you get I got my thing and it was broken. And then what you want is you want them to come back 2 days later and say, oh, they did a great job of handling that for me. I got a refund and a $20 gift card, or I got a new product shipped in 1 day, or what. So I find it's in around there, because otherwise what can happen is those things can all come as a surprise and you're dealing with them as a one-off, and all your hard work that went into a launch can go sideways on you a little bit from those early sort of, customer encounters when something goes wrong.
Yeah, and if anyone is interested in knowing more about that, you read the what's the book called, Delivering Happiness, the story of Zappos.
Yeah,
They built, they end up selling for $3.5 billion to Amazon, but Tony Hsieh built a company based on the customer experience and made it incredibly. In fact, he would say, order 6 pairs of shoes, send us the 5 you don't want, we'll only bill you for the one.
that's probably the best example I've ever heard of. Yeah, but that's satisfy to delight. And then when you want to have a grow phase, get what? You have this army of fans that want to grow your company for you, right? So it almost does it on its own.
Yeah,
So,
I see there's some questions coming in. So first of all, for the QuickBooks question, somebody else answered, and I guess you can use QuickBooks inventory with third-party POS and e-commerce. And then below, as Ali also mentioned, like um, I don't know if that ECWID for e-commerce. Also, if you directly sell from QuickBooks inventory, you don't need
yeah, if you're
POS.
just selling online, you wouldn't need point of sale for sure.
That's right. Um, there's also a question from Alex here. Hi, Alex. In light of the uncertainties in supply chains caused by COVID-19, any suggestions or recommendations on how to retain customers uh, when there may be significant delays in delivery or even cancellations of deliveries? That's a good question.
Yeah, good question, Alex. And I think my answer is going to be a pile on that satisfy one that we talked about before. So I would say, there's probably two parts to that. Be as ready you can on how you handle, uh, you know, delays, where's my stuff inquiries, all that type of stuff. And then, if you have something out of your control and it's genuinely due to COVID, I think, you'd want to reach out to your customer and offer that point of view to them, with some detail, I think, on why that is. And I think, most of us are accepting of that and be a little more patient in current times. But I think, you probably, when you find yourself there, now you're going to need some special COVID, satisfy tactics, I think, to deal with things like that. Um, One of those that I've heard of is there was a period when Amazon needed to close their warehouses to their third-party sellers for FBA, fulfillment by Amazon, where some people just send a trailer of product to an Amazon warehouse, and Amazon handles the warehousing, fulfillment, shipping, and whatnot. Can be a good option, but they had to close those down for deliveries to prioritize for medical equipment and other things they needed.
Mm.
So right move by Amazon, but put some people in the position that Alex is mentioning here in volume, for almost all their orders, and they had to scramble very quickly and offer those explanations. So that's all you can do is
Yeah.
provide the truth.
Yeah, and there's a lot of examples of, and I truly believe, I grew up in retail industry, and we always said, you actually solidify a relationship during a bad experience, meaning somebody,
Yes,
you can't fulfill their order, you can't, there's a return, something's not producing or not performing for a customer. That's when you can actually create the raving fans, because normally when people go through their buyer's journey and have good experience, like a quote unquote good experience all the way through, they are, they're the people that are happy and they're satisfied with your service. Well, satisfied with your service is good because they'll be a return customer, but they're not going to talk about you. If you want to create word of mouth marketing and raving fans out there, take someone who's had a bad experience and make it really, really good. Go above and beyond,
yes,
and that's your opportunity to actually get to get some really positive word of mouth. I know, I was just a personal experience. My father bought a vehicle years ago, and the transmission went like 6 months later. The used car dealership that he bought it from here in town actually said, "Go get a new transmission and send me the bill." And here, I think it's almost 40 years later, because it happened when I was really young. 35, 40 years later, my father still talks about that. It's probably sent him tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
dollars worth of business over the years. So yeah, use that. Is there any other questions for Scott? Yeah, as we get to the top of the hour. Yeah, because I do think that the whole customer experience, I know in retail, you walk into a restaurant, you walk into a retail store, you walk into a shop of some sort. People do think about the customer experience there, but when it comes to online, you really got to think of it, go walk through your own process through the lens of the customer.
Yeah.
And I find that that's such an opportunity for people, and one that a lot of people just don't do.
Yeah, don't fall into the trap of just being transactional. There's a person on the other end of that keyboard, and they're having a complex day just like you. And I think that's good advice. Take your retail playbooks and figure out, how do you delight customers now when they're across the counter, and how do you bring that online in a different way? That's an excellent barometer for anything you do. So.
Yeah, somebody said at a conference I was at last year, and he said, there's no such thing as B2B or B2C. It's all H2H. It's human to human.
Human to
Remember
human.
that.
Yeah.
And on e-commerce, it's more important than anywhere else to remember that, because you're not interacting directly. Um, okay, there's a comment
Okay.
there from Susan, Suzanne.
Yeah.
Okay, this is
So,
great.
so, so maybe I'll just take a minute on some of the help we're willing to provide, Andy, and then we can
Yes.
we can move to a close. So we wanted to do a couple things, and maybe I'll start at the bottom of the list. So, um, you know, uh, open, and we'll send out contact links to do e-commerce plan session with anyone that is on the webinar. So if that's of interest to you, you'll get an email from us here probably this afternoon or this evening with the tool and the a link to build a calendar. And that process we went through of unpacking your thinking, you'll be able to do that. That works really well with a thinking partner after you get partway through it. So happy to get on. I think those sessions are set up at 45 minutes. Happy to get on a Zoom call with anyone that's helpful to, and help them think that through, and decide if they have a good plan they'd like to move forward with or not. Um, the other one is, we want to provide all of you early access to some free e-commerce training we're building, and we're approaching that a little differently than I would say traditional training, because we know the person that's designing or making e-commerce decisions is probably very busy and has 99 other responsibilities already. So that's a 10-day training to help you build your e-commerce plan. It comes out as an email once a day uh, for 10 days. And so in 15 to 30 minutes a day, you could build and evolve, your own e-commerce plan, and make your decisions on if you think you should go forward with that. And we're happy to jump on the phone with you with that as well. But what you'll find if you go through the training is that you'll either be really excited by the plan you have, and looking for ways to go get those results, or you'll know that this isn't, your nagging doubts will be put away. You'll know that that's not the right project for you right now. So we're really excited about that. One wrinkle is that it's sort of grown on us. We've expanded it out to add video and whatnot, and we now believe that this will be a paid product actually by the summer timeframe, with all the work we've put into it, and some of the value it will provide. But when it's ready, I believe it'll be a week from now, you'll all get a separate email with free access, and we're going to keep it free until about the July timeframe, and we'll keep it free forever for webinar attendees. So anyway, I hope to have that ready for today's session. There will be a slight delay, but that is coming as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott. It's a great offer. Just before we move to a close, I do want to take another 10 seconds. And if everybody just wants to make a comment, I just like to get your feedback for Scott, for us, as far as how you feel about your e-commerce now. Are you encouraged? A little more clarity? I'll just give everyone 5-10 seconds here to just add some comments into the chat function here. As those are coming through, I'll make just a few quick announcements. So as Scott mentioned, watch out for an email. You'll see an email coming through with a recording of today's webinar and the tool that he is talking about and referring to. There's also, as soon as you close out this this webinar, there is a feedback survey. We urge you to take a few moments, and it's really helpful for us. We want to make sure these webinars are very helpful for you. Next week's session, we are going to be talking about stopping the swivel chair data entry and just simplifying your processes and automating. It's a lot around automation. That is next time, or sorry, our next webinar. That is next week at the exact same time, same place. Okay, comments are flowing in now. So helpful information. Thank you. Looking forward to creating our e-commerce website. Good advice. Love the assessment process. I think that's great to overcome myriad of hurdles. Create, come see, see some definite advantages. We know business as usual isn't in the cards for a while. That's a really good comment because they say things are going to get back to normal, but it's the new normal everybody's talking about now, and some things, it's not going to be back to what we knew before, at least not for a long, long time. And I don't believe it's ever going to get there fully. So there is going to be some permanent changes out of all of this.
Yeah, Andy, just one quick comment. There's some of the material I read, they're starting to call it the next normal. And
The next normal.
I've come to like that quite a bit. So it's not the old normal or necessarily new normal, it's the next normal. I like that.
And there's a question there. Can we reach out to you for further questions? And
yeah, I'll have the Calendly link in the email that comes out. So absolutely love, and just love to help anyone that this is helpful for. So
all right, well, we're coming up. We said we'd end at 5 minutes too, so we're coming up to that time. I do, on behalf of Scott and I want to thank everyone for coming out this morning, and congratulations, because you're taking time out of your business to think strategically and work on your business. Not everybody's doing that. So congratulate you on being proactive and forward thinking that way. If you know people that can benefit from these webinars, we've got a number of them still coming up over the next few weeks, and please spread the word. Anyone that does sign up gets all the recordings to the past webinars retroactive, so that is available to everyone, yourselves or other people that do sign up. So please spread the word, and hopefully this has been helpful. And on behalf of Scott and I wish everyone the best of luck. Scott, any final comments?
no, just thanks for your time today. I know you're all busy, and we're here to help if there's anything we can do for you out of this. So don't be scared to reach out.
Okay. Well, everyone, have a great day. We'll see you next
Thank
week.
you.
See you, Scott.